Hey, snowshoes.
We're recording.
My personal flotation device.
Those look like tubs.
It does keep you above.
It keeps me above the water, just, a little bit different form.
Good
Well, I'm
one.
caught in an avalanche. Will this help me?
Absolutely.
Really?
They actually now have airbags for avalanche.
You do. Didn't know. Now, it would also help you in quicksand.
That's true.
Okay, so I'll back up so you can see. So this is, I've inflated this by mouth. And this is what it looks like when it inflates and it opens up its little Velcro seams. But of course, that's too simple. You can also inflate with the canister here. And all the instructions are sewn in. So the process of replenishing it and repairing it is all perfectly clear with diagrams and so on.
Hey, Ken.
Good morning, evening.
So
What
after,
time zone are you in?
We are recording, apparently.
apparently.
Okay.
So Ken, after this, are you going to be able to demonstrate your Mustang?
Yes,
Okay. Okay, so that's step 2. Okay, so
We're going to need more people, Tom. We're going to need a bunch of people first, I think.
okay. Well, I can repeat this, but
It's just 7:01 right now.
all right.
Yeah, I think some people are signing on.
Okay. So the various ways we inflated this by mouth and checked for leaks. And then you can inflate it by pulling on the red handle here, which makes this little green thing pop off. And you may or may not be able to recycle the little green thing, but that opens the valve and inflates it from this CO2 cartridge. And then the third way is this right here, which opens the valve when it gets wet. And they recommend that you change this yellow thing every 3 years. It's got a kind of filter in there that absorbs water and expands and opens the valve when it's wet. So you've got these 2 replaceable parts. This one takes a 24-gram carbon dioxide cylinder and this little yellow device. And if they're used up and you need to replace them, you can go online. I found a good deal at Landfall. And so we have a boxing video as well. I don't know if you like to watch these on YouTube, where you order something in the mail and then you watch them open the box. And landfill charges about $17 for a replacement carbon dioxide cylinder, and about $7 for the replacement
Michelle's eating.
yellow batten.
Howie.
So, and
Okay, we're still in rehearsal, Tom, right?
well, yeah, because now I'm going to reverse the steps.
Well, wait a minute. People are still coming in.
Okay.
So
I'm not sure what the subject is. What is the agenda subject for this portion of the presentation?
how to fly
Well,
airplane.
I came in at 7:01 and I already missed some.
So the first thing is we're going over life jackets.
Okay,
And,
and we're just talking about
a lot of people have
maintenance.
asked about how to maintain them, and so that's why I took all the things apart. So,
What kind of jacket are you working on there?
so I'm putting it all back together now.
Tom?
Yeah.
What kind of jacket is that?
It's the cheapest run from West Marine.
West Marine, okay.
Let's see, it's a Halke Roberts.
How old is it?
It's about 2 years old now.
3? Okay.
I should be replacing that little yellow batten next. So in order to put it back together,
Halke Roberts is the valve maker, I think.
okay. And the rest of it is it's West Marine brand.
The item number is inside the, right here.
Okay, so is there a brand
On
name
the
for
PFD itself.
the whole thing?
Everybody must be eating
I haven't
dinner.
read that closely, Barbara. Does it say the product number for the valve itself?
Yeah, it has the West Marine item numbers is, I think is for the jacket, 1799, 1415, and then use rearm kit 6975 999. So
Okay,
I don't know what jackets you guys have, but that's what I have.
pretty easy. Okay, so you.
So
Oh,
it's-
Yes. You're not missing much.
So putting it back together, it says on here very, very clearly, step 1, deflate, step 2, fold under. Step 3, fold back the other way and match the Velcro. It's not good. Okay. You put those yellow bags inside and you put the Velcro together again. All goes back inside.
Tom, were you saying that you inflate it to test it and then you just replace the cartridge after you've done that?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, you don't need to use the cartridge. You can inflate it by mouth.
by mouth.
That's what the orange tube is for.
Say, Tom, before you
You got it
reassemble, what about the pill routine to make it automatic versus non-automatic?
So here's the pill. There's they have a technical term for it. It's there on the sheets.
Bobbin.
Bobbin, there we go. So this will turn red when that's about 3 years old.
Have you actually seen that happen? I've only had mine 3 years, so I'm
Mine's
operating
in the
on
process.
trust.
So, okay, so there's the bobbin. And I just ordered a new bobbin from Landfall. And it just slides in. There's only one way it goes. Screw this
It would
in.
help for us to turn to speaker view, I think.
Yeah, you turn yourself to speaker view, you'll be able to see that.
yes,
Bobbin's
thank
up
you,
there.
Daryl.
So there are 3 ways to inflate it. One is by mouth, one is by pulling on the red hook here, and the third is letting the bobbin get wet. And Marion Osmond has a video of her doing that, jumping in the water and watching it inflate itself.
I was told, somebody told me that, I mean, I have a fairly new one and the Velcro is really stiff. And somebody told me that you really want to kind of work Velcro to make sure that it releases when needed. So I try to do that. I don't know if anybody has any comments on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you, most of these,
Undo, redo, undo, redo.
you want the Velcro to release the bag.
Yeah.
when the time
And then-
comes.
And then the other thing this person told me was, don't Velcro it at all seams, just on a few different points.
It's
So-
not very likely that the Velcro is not going to open. There's a great deal of force that's
Yeah.
going to come on that bag.
Okay.
a lot of force.
I just go on based on hearsay that I hear, and somebody
Yeah.
told me that, so.
They have liability laws, so
Uh-huh,
you don't have to worry about too much.
too much, yeah. I think this person was speaking from personal experience, but.
Right. And those bobbins, the bobbins don't change color, at least the old ones that I have don't.
Mhm.
And if you don't replace them, they're fail safe. And what happens is they just deteriorate without getting wet. And then the vest will inflate all by itself without being
Oh.
wet. So that's what you get if you don't replace the bobbin one time. I have had that happen.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm putting mine back together after inflating it. Who else wants to show us theirs? I know Ken's got a very different one.
I don't know if I missed it, but if you fall in the water and the thing just doesn't work, how do you get to that inflatable tube?
On the
You have to
side
open the
opposite,
Velcro.
yeah,
Right.
on the side opposite the cylinder, you open up the Velcro right here on the side. There's where it sits.
You have to know where it is to open the Velcro.
Yeah. So that's
Those
good.
are all
In fact,
zippers.
I leave mine sticking out.
Yeah,
You get up in the morning and it's so nice out. You just leave it out all day.
I guess everybody knows, but those zippers are they're rip apart. You just put a
Um,
little bit of force on them, they just come right apart.
It works just like the ones on the airplanes.
Just
They march
don't
too.
do what I did, which was throw it into the dinghy after it rained. Then the thing inflates on you.
it worked. That's good news.
Yeah,
But then,
Never worked
not
with
when I
you.
need it.
but then you have to replace the
cartridge.
bobbin.
It's actually a good thing when you come up to 3 years or 5 or 6 years, which is what most people do. It's a good idea to either jump in the water or jump in the shower or put it in the shower to see how everything works.
That's true. Before you spend the money on a new bobbin, you might as well.
Once you do that, typically when you take these things apart, those little green tabs will break on you, and you can usually use it without it, but you're supposed to replace them because those little tiny green tabs are theoretically the safety devices, stop it from popping off.
So just leave this sticking out.
Mhm.
And by the way, the oral inflator is always on the left side, and it should always be just about where
Yeah, near your mouth.
right. You should be able to reach it to your mouth.
Who has tried manual inflation? Craig.
Pretty easy. Haven't tried it in the water, tried it on land.
That's a crucial step anyway.
In scuba diving, in the old days, you used to
Regulators.
partially inflate your PFD, your inflatable, so that you would be neutrally buoyant. Now it's done a lot fancier ways, but you still can do it by mouth.
You still can, yeah.
So Ken, you want to show us your Mustang?
Yeah, I just want to show you something. On, I don't know if you could see this. This is the West Marine. And it's actually fully loaded, but the green thing is, I think those are little tabs, and that one's gone. So even though this is loaded, it shows red.
Okay.
This one over here, still working, and it still shows green. And I don't know, I missed this part too, but the green bobbin is inside this thing here, just in case. You have to turn it quite a few times. And by the way, the one I'm working on, this is a Revere, and it's got the exact same mechanism as West Marine.
By the way, Ken, if it's showing red, that means it has to be reset because that usually means
Right.
it's already been popped.
Well, this one here shows red, even though this is loaded and it's good. But that little green thing in there it seems to be a replaceable thing or something.
No,
This
what
one
he's
was
saying,
not.
what he's saying is that the gas bottle's probably empty. It's loaded, but it might be empty.
Unscrew the gas bottle, yeah, to pop the gas bottle out is either unscrew it or turn it a quarter turn.
You can weigh them too.
Well, when you pull it out, you should see a little tiny, look at the end, if you see a little tiny hole, I mean, a little tiny hole, that's all it takes.
But you're still green.
While he's doing that, you want to inflate your jackets and then leave them over for 24 hours theoretically, right, Tom?
To check
If at
for
least.
leaks. So Craig, can you tell by looking at the end of the bottle if it's been emptied or not? Or is it best to just weigh it?
No, take a look at it. Do you see dead center or very close to dead center? Is there a little tiny dimple in it?
Yes. Let me do an experiment. My wife was asking me why carbon dioxide, and I figure it's because there is a whole industry of making carbon dioxide canisters. This is a much smaller one that I use to charge a seltzer bottle. Remember all those Marx Brothers movies where they would chase each other? Harpo would chase everyone with a seltzer bottle.
The question is.
So the end of this is too small for any of these life preservers, but it will charge a seltzer bottle. It's flat on the end there and it's pretty heavy. And let me make some seltzer water here. And yes, this is much lighter. It's also very cold right now because it just lost a lot of pressure. And the hole is an open, empty hole. So yeah, you can look at the cylinder and tell when it's been charged.
Shit, 15 years.
15.
Oh.
Evan Bruce, I think you're not muted.
Well, sorry, we'll take care of that immediately. We're just unscrewing the cartridge from the 15-year-old vest, and Debbie says it's 15, but
10.
it looks just fine. It's full, it's heavy, and its belly button looks
Protruded.
It's an Alcee.
So it might still be good.
I would think so.
Okay. Does anybody know what these are? Okay. Sorry, I'm not.
Hold it up to the camera.
Yes,
Okay.
I got a replacement from the landfall in the mail today. And that
Okay, I
they
have two of
recommend
them.
that you change these, what did they call them again? Baffles?
It's a
Bobbin
bobbin.
right here.
Bobbins.
A bobbin. Here.
Yeah, if you do any sewing, it looks like that thing in your sewing machine.
And that is supposed to change every 3 years.
Oops.
Because,
We got two
well,
questions here.
Debbie, what that is it's basically felt, and if you get it wet, it will dissolve, and then it will let the pin go down and pop the CO2 cartridge and fill up the vest.
So it's a wick.
Basically,
It's a wick.
and if it gets wet, it will disintegrate. And having a friend fall off my dinghy halfway between the boat and the dinghy, it definitely does work. And it makes a lot of noise. That's one of the reasons it's good to pop these off, because it's startling the amount of noise it makes.
I believe earlier you mentioned that Marion Osman had a video of a test that she did.
Are you cutting on?
I think she jumped off of our boat when she did it.
Or Michelle's?
So
Peg's
we're
boat.
aware.
Peg's
We're
boat.
aware.
We were there. Oh, it was Peg's boat. Oh, thank you, Michelle.
Same raft.
We were there.
Same raft.
but just remember, after you do that, then there are these two parts that you've got to replace.
Well, you need to tell Marion that.
Yeah, she probably knows.
So when you order, the instructions say replace every 3 years. What you're doing, Barbara read like a part number that was on her vest. When you order that part, I guess you get the two things. You get the bobbin and the cartridge, I guess.
Now you had to order them
Order them
separately.
separately.
Here's another question for you. If you,
Everything's
I'm not sure how much force it takes to pull the ripcord, Tom. It looks like it's pretty tough. And if you do pull the ripcord, is there any replacement parts required to put it back together?
Yes and no. I pulled it and found it pretty easy. There is, mine has a little green guard over the cord. And when you pull the cord down, the red on-off switch flips down and the green pops off. And if you're careful and don't break it, you can put it back on. But it's also a replacement part that you can order if need be. And I think maybe if you pull straight down, you wind up having to break the green, and that may be why it has resistance there.
This is Ken. I was starting to show this Mustang and then I got lost power.
Oh,
Back. But the interesting thing about this one, I was pointing out, is I don't know if you can see the thing, but this says the expiration is 2015 and yet it's still green. And I called the Mustang and they said, yeah, if it's green, it will work. However, your jacket was built in made in 2017 and no, 2003, sorry. And anyways, it's my 2013. It's 7 years old and it starts to disintegrate materials like this. And he says you need, unless you're just staying really insure, you need to replace that jacket.
Wow.
So we did. I got a brand new one right there.
Ken, it looks like your jacket also doubles as a harness.
Right. So this is, if you go on, you get tethered. This is where you tether yourself in. The other jackets, these West Marines, there's no, that's a Revere. These West Marines don't have that. So
that's not true. You can buy them with the D-rings. They're $200, whereas that one is $100.
But
They're
if you buy
double the price.
You go up front, you're kind of on your own.
You can get them with D-rings. I have one with D-rings from West Marine.
Yeah, but as you said, they add probably $50 to $70, something like that.
Double.
It's called nearshore and offshore. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
can we go back to the string part? What is the purpose of pulling the string that activates the canister?
Yes,
I was going to do that.
3 ways to inflate it.
Yeah. So I was going to do it on this jacket because Mustang guaranteed me it would work. So we'll find out their guarantees. We'll just see what it looks like and sounds like.
Well, make sure you get centered, Tom, on the screen.
Ken.
Yeah. All right. Here goes. Man overboard.
Woo!
It does work. 7 years later, it works.
So Daryl recommends that you leave it inflated 24 hours to look for slow leaks. And I say now.
I did that on all my jackets and they lasted, every jacket lasted over a week.
You really hope you're not in the water for 24 hours. And now you need to get a new canister, a new cylinder.
Right.
Jacket's trashed.
The other good thing about these, this is a, Mustang.
They have an entire rearming kit.
I got myself a little confused because Mustang is a different jacket than West Marine. But back in 7 years ago, they must have been together because that's what says West Marine and that says Mustang. But anyways.
So Phil, you had a question?
I do, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. It's more of a comment, actually. I purchased
One for, I have a friend who's got a power boat. I haven't done much sailing, but I did a little power boating this year with a friend who was a longtime friend of mine. And I accidentally discharged mine while I was getting off to grab a dock line. And my comment is, when wearing those, you forget about that little pull tab that activates it because they're so small. And it's kind of embarrassing when you hop off the boat on the dock and all of a sudden your PFD inflates. So that's all I want to say, is just be cognizant of it, I guess.
I guess you can fold it up inside, just like you can conceal the orange tube.
That's a good idea.
What
All
I've
times you
done
want it out.
when in scuba diving, we usually try to have ours, so it's just you can grab it, but it's not sticking out enough to be grabbed by something like you did on Phil, that you can catch it on something.
I recommend one more addition to the life jacket. You should always have a whistle attached. If you remember the next to last scene in the movie Titanic, that's Rose is saved because she had a whistle.
Mhm.
Is that a pee whistle or a non-pee whistle?
Non-pee whistle. The pee in the whistle, like what referees carry, that makes it warble, those can absorb water and cause it not to function as a whistle.
If I'm not mistaken, all the ones that I own came with a whistle.
Yeah, they usually do.
Well, I'm looking at this one. Oh, actually, I think the whistle's in the inside. When this opens up there, I think it's in the
Right.
inside.
Right, it's inside.
Yeah.
And you can put a light on them too.
Strobe. Yeah, my one with D-rings, I added a strobe too.
Right.
In the Coast Guard Auxiliary, when we're doing patrols, we don't wear inflatables. We wear a big life jacket that's always big, because they figure there are all these little hazards of catching the strings, and you can't use it as a throwable and so on. So this is what we wear on the auxiliary patrols. And of the various kinds of life jackets, the classification is going to be changing. We currently work with type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. It's very confusing. And there are two things you really want to know about a life jacket is how many pounds of flotation do you get out of it? So is it big enough for an adult? And will it turn your face up out of the water? And those are really only the two things that you're really concerned about. These inflatables do that. They will keep your face out of the water when you're uncomfortable, when you're unconscious. And most of the adult ones are big enough for most adults. But expect the labeling of life jackets will be changing soon. And those two things is how many pounds of flotation and whether or not it'll keep your face out of the water.
Well, the one you're wearing, keep your face out of the water?
It's not so good at that, but it is good. It does leave your arms free. And that's an important part about the other kinds. The type 1 that they hand out during lifeboat drills on cruise ships, and that they have dozens of attached to the ceiling in the ferry boats. That's just a huge rectangular block of flotation. And it's great for, it's behind your head. It'll keep your face out of the water, but you can't do anything with it on. It's so bulky. So we have all these other modifications that fit more around your middle and leave your shoulders free, so you can paddle and haul on ropes and do other things with the life jackets on. And that's the great thing about the inflatable, is that you're very free to move around, but you can't use it as a throwable, And it doesn't really count unless you're wearing it.
You mean per Coast Guard count?
Right. When they board you and do the safety check, they want to make sure that there is an adequately sized life jacket for each person aboard. And they don't count it unless you're wearing it for the inflatables.
Well, I always carry, I have 6 inflatables and 6 the old red Coast Guard ones in a package
Yeah.
in the boat. So I always have, no matter what the situation is.
The old fashioned ones they're nice as a cushion. They're nice to throw when you have somebody overboard. I think Daryl once tied one to a buoy that I was going to look for in the dark. They got a lot of uses.
When you're in a kayak, what are the requirements?
That it's the same, that there be a life jacket for each person. And a wearable is fine, although you may not want to because it has a real likelihood of getting wet when you're in a kayak.
Mm-hmm.
So they're types 2s and 3s are real popular in kayaks. You can paddle and you're wearing that. But a lot of your safety equipment is going to be attached to the life jacket. So they're going to require that you have a whistle attached when you're kayaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I will bring some of these to our next in-person meeting. So everyone's
Good.
got one.
I'm looking inside my little pouch here and I don't see a whistle. Did you think that a whistle came with every
Mine,
PFD?
I got a cheap one and a whistle didn't come with it.
Okay.
So I invested another 30 cents.
To your point, Tom, about kayaking and it going off on you accidentally, some people, a lot of these are, you optionally can have them as manual only or install the parts and make it automatic depending on your circumstance.
Sounds good.
So a lot of times I just use 2 seat cushions when I'm in the kayak, especially if I'm like inside Cuttyhunk Harbor. Is that illegal? I should have a life jacket on me?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
And especially in cold weather, Massachusetts has rules about just having a throwable cushion in the warm weathers. And if there's no one under 12, it was okay in Massachusetts. But you can cross over into Rhode Island and it may be different there. So it's certainly good to have some throwable cushions there. But you probably should be wearing a life jacket in the kayak.
Why are you laughing so hard?
I just looked at your face. You're like, oh.
Other stuff that you can attach. Also on Coast Guard patrols, we'll wear a strobe light and a personal locator beacon, and even carry a mirror for signaling. So you got all sorts of doodads that you can attach to your life jacket. The number one is the whistle.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Hey, I've got a question for who had the Mustang? I did.
Ken.
Ken, yeah. What was the date? Was that because I have a Mustang here, and the date on this one is 2008. Manufactured date. So was that?
They said after 7 years, material starts to degrade.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's my favorite one. Yeah. All right.
I mean, if you saw this before I blew it up,
it had a lot of use. It's pretty grudgy.
Yeah.
I tell you one too. And these are all every one of these things have a whistle. So I think they all installed with whistles.
Yeah, but Barbara, you might have to open yours all the way up to find the whistle, but there might not be one either.
You open it up, then you got to repack it.
Yeah. It's not that.
Okay, any more questions about life jackets? If you think of something later, we can put it in the chat. But I also was going to talk about fire extinguishers. And I have here an example of a kitty with a plastic nozzle. And a bunch of these were recalled. You can check, it's online as all the serial numbers and so on, but there were problems with these plugging and not discharging. So that is one to be on the lookout for.
And then, I mean, the recall is actually quite old, but 2 years ago, I called up and they said, you got a plastic one, we'll replace it. They sent me 3 of them.
Nice. So, Barbara, I'm impressed. Oh, that must be your home extinguisher. This is my home extinguisher
No,
too.
oh,
These
looks
are
just
not,
like that.
these are not Coast Guard approved because they don't stand up in a salt air environment. So it's gotta be a Coast Guard approved fire extinguisher. The boat regulations are really mostly for type B, which is oil fires, but almost all the ones you see and use are all 3, A, B, and C. A will cover like wood fires and vapor fires. B will be oil and fiberglass, and C is electrical fires. And so the ABC fire extinguishers usually put out some white spray, which makes quite a mess. And just to review the way when you use them, you pull out the pin, you aim it where you want to go, you pull down the handle, and you got about 10 seconds worth of spray. Just use it all, put it on the base of the fire, which is where the oxygen is combining with the hot fuel, and it'll block that and stop your fire. When I do inspections, all we do is look at the valve there. If the arrow points in the green, it's okay. There's no time limit. And we used to shake them around to make sure that the white powder wasn't caking, but that was causing more problems than it was worth. So we just look at the gauge. And Daryl had a question about sometimes diesel engines will not stop. You cut off the fuel supply and they keep going just on fumes for way too long. And firing the fire extinguisher down the carburetor is really going to mess up your engine. Usually the best thing to do is to take the top off the carburetor and just stuff a life jacket on there or a gloved hand or something like that to keep the air from coming in. That's probably going to do less damage to your engine. Fires inside the engine compartment, of course, get worse when you open up the door and let the air in. But some engine compartments have a little port where you can actually squirt the fire extinguisher through a hole while keeping the door closed.
Question.
Yes.
Are some fire extinguishers going to corrode in a marine environment so that the little lever is in the green spot, but when you actually pull the trigger, the mechanism is corroded so it won't fire?
That's not supposed to be a problem in the Coast Guard approved ones, but it's certainly something to worry about. If it looks real corroded outside the valve and so on, that could be a problem.
How can you tell if it's Coast Guard approved?
It says so. There's a little sticker on it.
Sticker on the thing or on the valve, or where's the sticker?
Down
Okay.
here, back here.
Not sure if mine are or not. They look.
If
Yeah,
you have,
Actually, Ken, yours are,
They are, okay.
because I did your vessel inspection,
Right.
remember, a couple
Yeah.
of years back?
Okay.
So when I looked up that recall a couple of years back, I discovered that, from the advice on the website was if the extinguisher is more than 12 years old, it should be replaced. That's what it said. So that's what I did. Supposedly the stuff cakes at the bottom.
Right.
It does, yeah.
now, if there's a problem in the engine compartment, what type of fire extinguisher should you use?
Jump off the boat.
Halon.
Yes, hey, built-in halon fire extinguishers are the
Halon?
best choice for an engine compartment.
They don't actually sell Halon anymore, but they have a replacement for that. They're expensive.
It's a vaporizing liquid alternative to halon, which is
Right.
less disruptive to the environment and the ozone. With extinguishers, you're exactly right, Barry, with caking. That's why the valve can show in the green that the extinguisher is okay, but actually the compound that's the multi-purpose extinguishing agent, that white powder, can pack down in the bottom of the container and then not actually discharge properly when most needed. That's why they have a life expectancy on them. So Tom, you should probably have a discussion with the Coast Guard on that issue, because in fact, I've actually seen extinguishers that are caked and fail to work. Yeah, it's an issue.
There is an ongoing discussion, and part of the problem was that people were shaking in a way that caused it to cake. I don't know what the right answer is going to be.
But can the substance be emptied out and replaced? Or people just throw out the whole fire extinguisher and just get another one? It seems a waste.
They are considered disposable, one-time use, and once they reach their age limitation, they have to be thrown out, because it's an expensive proposition to have even the tank recertified, just like propane tanks. Any pressurized cylinder has to be recertified on a certain type of a certain year. And I think 12 years is accurate. And therefore, the cost to have that cylinder retested out goes beyond the cost of replacing it with a brand new one.
Okay, so 12 years
I
is
do,
12 years is the standard?
That's what Barry says. It sounds familiar. It's been a few years since I've been in that, business, but some of the small ones are as little as 5 and 6 years. So it should say on the device what its expiration is.
Where would that be? I don't, this is just my home one. I don't see any date on it.
Yeah, that looks like a vaporizing liquid one, Ken. Is that, can you read
It's
what?
a BC. It's a BC.
BC, so it's not
Yeah.
good for A fires, which means that it can't put out cloth and paper type A fires, but it can put out electrical and gas or oil type fires. Now, is there a number on the B?
No,
It doesn't say like 1 BC or 2 BC, just BC?
just BC. No,
Yeah.
BC.
It looks like the,
Number
oh,
refer to the capacity.
yes. So, Tom, what does yours say for the numbers on the rating?
Well, on my boat, I've got 2 B1s. Well,
Well, the one you have in your hand over there,
one, I think it's also a 1. But
is it 1A, 2B,
it's
C?
a home ABC, and I don't know, it looks like about a 1.
Mine says 1A 10 BC.
Okay, so Barbara,
Mhm.
1A means it'll put a fire out. That's the smallest amount of fire that a type A fire extinguisher can put out. A very small type A fire, which is normal combustibles, cloth, paper, your curtains, personal items.
Mhm.
And they rate them on what a novice would put out within a certain amount of time. So 1A is for your combustibles. 10B is for your flammables and your liquids and your gases. So it can put out 10 times more fire in gaseous and oily type fires than non-combustibles. And C never has a number.
Okay.
C has no number at all, ever, on any of them, because it either can work on electrical fires or it can't. So if you have a 1A, 2B, C, each number represents a letter, and C never has a number.
And C is for electrical fires.
Correct.
And having it on here means I could put out an electrical fire with this extinguisher.
If you had an arcing outlet or a generator or something that's electrically driven that's showing smoke or fire, that should safely extinguish it without the electricity coming back at you and shocking you as a user of the extinguisher. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
For the vessel safety checks, it's the length of the boat that determines how big an extinguisher you need or how many. And a boat over 26 feet needs 2 B1s or 1 B2, because I guess they can be.
What about 40?
Fire. 40 feet, 3.
3,
B1s.
which kind?
One B2 and 1 B1 or 3 B1s for a 40-foot boat. And also it's important where you put them. Because if you have bedrooms where you might get caught, they need to be at hand so that you can put out the fire in front of you and escape.
What's the safe way to dispose of the old fire extinguishers? Dumpster?
You used to be able to take them just to the fire department and give them to them. And last time I did it, they said, take it to the dump. So I took it to the dump and they said, go over there and discharge it and then throw the canister into the metal container.
Okay, that would take care of all the safety issues.
Okay.
And one question that has sometimes come up, if you light up one of your flares, which is like a magnesium fire, A, B, or C may not put it out. It is so hot.
Ooh.
So metal fires, magnesium, some of the cars, the old Volkswagens had magnesium engines or aluminum engines, and they would have a fire within the engine compartment, and putting water on it actually intensified the fire. So they discovered they had to come up with extinguishing agents that are called dry powder. So the 1A, 2B, C extinguishers that you have in your home or on your boats are dry chemical. They're mostly, I'll use a big word, monoammonium phosphate, which is that white powdery stuff that comes out of it. And that's good for those type of fires that it's rated on. But a metal fire, metal filings in machine shops, they need a dry chemical that actually adheres to the metal parts, and they call it a dry powder. And they're different. They look the same to look at them, but they extinguish in different ways. And you wouldn't need one on a boat. They're very expensive. They're very application specific. So yeah, your magnesium flare, as you said, yeah, that's going to be a metal type burning substance. And you can even throw those in the water and you can see they still burn underwater, you know, so yeah, it's very true. Okay.
Any more questions about fire extinguishers?
This
Because,
last month's practical sailor, they were somewhat advocating a pressure waterized one. It was just water under pressure that would, I think they said could go for 10 minutes. But they were saying some applications it made sense.
that sounds like the type A fire
Yeah.
extinguisher.
Yeah.
But you want to talk some more about flares?
Yeah.
For the vessel safety, you need day and night signals. And usually in the past, you'd buy 3 flares and then have to replace them when they outdated. And I would sometimes come across people that had Department of Transportation flares that were not Coast Guard flares. People are getting out from under the magnesium burning type flares and getting strobe lights that you can charge. And that takes care of your nighttime flare, and you can just recharge it. You don't have to keep buying more flammable stuff.
So what's a day flare?
Well, you see, a strobe light may not do the job in the middle of the day. It may not be as visible. So that's why a lot of flares make smoke, which will work for a day flare. But the cool way around it nowadays is to get a strobe light for night and to get a big orange flag for the day, and that will meet the requirements. And they sell them as a package at West Marine.
I have a question. When you say strobe light, I'm thinking of the xenon type, top of an antenna, super bright flash, 2 microsecond type of blast. As far as I know, those are not part of the package for marine use.
You can buy one that floats.
I'm gonna go I have one down my cellar. I'm gonna bring it up.
Cool, thanks.
If I'm out on the water, you know, can you visually tell the difference? Do they look the same or?
For the strobe lights?
Yeah, versus regular flare?
No, it's a white flashing light, and I think the default setting is SOS.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's not actually technically a strobe light. That is like an LED or something of that nature, which can last. The only way you can get the O is a stretched out signal, right?
Yeah.
How do you launch it? I mean, how do you get it up in the air?
You don't.
So, I mean, would I be better off shooting a flare, you know, 100 feet in the air versus holding a strobe light at deck height?
Yeah. I mean, there's still some arguments for having smoke flares and the flares that you shoot up into the air. But the flares that you just sort of hold over the water off the back of your boat, those are kind of inconvenient to use anyway.
Yeah, as the alternative to a flare, though, at night is the light that you can tip. It's basically like a spotlight that you can direct. As far as I know, I don't think they're unidirectional. I think they're directed light, and they have the built-in control for the light LED or whatever.
I would just think if I'm out on the water and I see a flare and an arc and all that, I know what it is.
Yeah.
I see a light, could be anything. Suppose with strobing, I guess I'd teach myself that I gotta go pay attention to it, but
Right.
That is
I think I'll-
supposed to be
Yeah,
a
I think I'll stay
universal
with
signal.
flares. I don't want anybody to mistake. I'm in major trouble. They have to shoot a flare. I don't want anybody to worry, to wonder what I'm doing.
Now, the question comes up, how do you dispose of outdated flares?
That's what 4th of July is for.
No, no, you get in big trouble that way. Oh, Frank's got his. Frank, would you explain how to use this?
Well, you gotta get a chainsaw, open the battery package and put the batteries in. That's what took me so long. And basically that's it. You just, there's an O-ring gasket.
Can you
So
hold
when
it a
you
little
wanna-
higher, Frank, please?
Can't see
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Thank you.
There's an O-ring gasket and you just turn it. And there it is. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very bright. And when it turns upside down, it doesn't flash. Well, I guess it does.
How much do they go for, Tom, Frank?
I don't keep track of that stuff.
I was
I
just
don't
looking,
know.
yeah, they sell them at West Marine for like $90 with the flag.
Are they that much? Yeah, wow. Wow. Well,
I think mine was 50.
yeah. I don't
It
think
was sort of equivalent to a couple of years worth of flares.
Yeah, I don't think it could have been 90. I think I bought this a couple of years ago when I got that inflatable.
Frank, you see any Coast Guard information on there, or is that strictly aftermarket situation?
It says, okay, it's Weems and Plath, and it says visual, night visual distress signal for boats. Complies with US Coast Guard requirements in 46 CFRs. 161.013. You can look that up in the CFRs if you want to. Emergency use only, battery type C, replace annually. Tells you the bulb. Okay. So I think it flashes. I think it flashes SOS. I'm not even.
Looks like it.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah, that's what it does. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There's the lawn. Okay. So it's pretty cool, I guess. I didn't even know it flashed SOS until I read it. That's it.
Okay, so that's visual signals.
Yeah.
You're required to have sound signals. But actually, in a pinch, your whistle will take care of that.
Yes.
And then the boat needs lights for nighttime. Up in the bow, you've got port and starboard lights. And when you're under power, you need to have an all-around white light. And a sailboat can get by with a white light just in the stern.
What about bells? I used to read that a boat used to have a bell, needed to have a bell.
That's no longer a federal requirement, but Massachusetts still requires a bell.
For a
What,
certain size
for
boat.
the fog or what?
Just because they haven't updated their regulations.
Okay.
I thought they changed the regulations so that it's only a very large boat that actually needs a bell.
Yes, the federal regulations is you need a bell if you're over 65 feet.
I'm good with that.
And you know, for just for Massachusetts, I think banging on a pot with a spoon is good enough. Now you're supposed to have two pollution control regulations. In the vicinity of your engine, you're supposed to have this one about oil.
Mhm.
And in the vicinity of your galley, you're supposed to have one about throwing food overboard. And you know, you can throw anything but plastic out when you're more than 3 miles offshore. I don't have a copy of that to show you. And we were discussing recently about the navigation rules. I think a boat over 40 feet is supposed to have a up-to-date copy of the COREG's navigation rules. But I think Ken just established that you can download that. So it doesn't have to be the new paper version.
Back to, you said your gallery one, just so, is it legal to throw apple cores over?
Yes,
Figured anything biodegradable is fine.
right. But you can't do raw sewage until you're 3 miles off.
3 miles.
There are also regulations about your head and how it operates. And in almost all Massachusetts waters, you know, you're not allowed to discharge sewage overboard. You need a holding tank.
Right.
Oh, and one final thing for anyone who's got a documented boat, you probably are familiar with the two systems. You get a letter in February from this vessel documentation portal, and they want $75 to renew the documentation on your vessel.
That's fake, right?
But then, if you just wait a month, then you get it from the Coast Guard, and they only want $26 to do exactly the same thing. So someone's found a business opportunity in there.
Yeah.
There's another sticker that I really do recommend for your dinghy, if you or for paddle boards and kayaks and so on. Just put your name and your cell phone number on this orange sticker. Every summer, seems like every Sunday, somebody reports a kayak floating in a harbor someplace unmanned. And there's a big question as to whether the Coast Guard needs to mount a search and rescue or whether it just blew off a dock.
Tom, where can you get those?
I'll bring them to our next meeting.
Okay, when will that be?
I can mail you one if you want. just give me a report.
The harbor masters have those also, Phil.
Do they?
The harbor masters.
Harbor Master.
Yeah.
My harbor master sends me a couple every year.
West
Does he?
Marine has them. They should be all over the place.
Okay, I've never
This
seen
thing,
one.
It's
but-
it saves about $2,500 worth of search and rescue.
Yeah.
Just call you up and find out, oh yeah, that blew off the dock.
I have 2 kayaks, so
Yeah.
it'd be a good idea. I actually put them in magic marker on them, but they've worn off over the years.
You have to rewrite it every year because it will, even the best laundry marker will fade in a year in the sun.
There are some special garden type markers that withstand the UV, and they will work really
Let
well.
me know if you identify them because I have yet to find it.
Okay, okay. My I don't have one, but I know people that have them. They told me the name, so I'll forward that to you.
Oh, that would be good to share with.
I think it might be the paint markers, the ones you shake up.
Okay.
Tom, I
Good
didn't
luck,
catch, I just bought 2 kayaks. So my interest just perked up. What was the notice that you just showed us that you need to
It's-
use kayaks as well?
Yeah, it's an orange sticker that says "If found, contact," and it's got 3 lines for name,
Okay.
phone.
And that's
Very simple
required.
and very effective. Oh, by the way, all you kayak owners, we do vessel safety checks on kayaks as well. And they're a lot shorter and simpler. You know, you don't need a fire extinguisher. You don't need navigation lights. Basically, it boils down to is, do you have a whistle on the life jacket that you're going to wear?
Yeah. Is that really all?
No, there's a little bit more.
Do you
There's
need a,
probably a website with
do you
the
need an
list.
anchor?
Hold on, I can look up the whole checklist. Oh, anchors, actually, anchors are not part of the vessel safety check. That's a Massachusetts registry. Massachusetts requirements are for an anchor and some device for bailing, and an old cut off bleach bottle will suffice just fine.
That's on kayaks too.
It depends on the, some kayaks don't really need bailing, but most of them would benefit from a part of a bleach bottle or something.
Yep.
I think you need some kind of light at night though, right?
Yes, if you're going out at night, you do need a light. And for something really small, like a dinghy, even a sailing dinghy, just a flashlight is good enough.
Patty, have you been kayaking for a while and just got kayaks?
Well, I'm turning 60 and there's nothing to do and I'm bored.
Okay.
And a friend of mine they're called Oru kayaks. They're actually origami kayaks. I have a really small house. And so you don't need a rack on top of your car. You actually fold them up.
Yeah.
And supposedly they're seaworthy. I'll have to report back on that.
They are definitely
Okay.
seaworthy. In the 1950s, a German dentist crossed the Atlantic in a folding kayak.
Is that right?
Yeah, from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean.
That sounds like another book club discussion.
I think it's in German.
Patty, could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I've had kayaks for over 20 years. One of the things you have to be cognizant of is self-rescue. That's the number one thing. So when you go out on the water and you put your life preserver on and you have your paddle on and you think you're safe, you have to have a plan that if you go over, how are you going to get back without help and think about it. If you're out, a half a mile or a mile from the shore and something happens, you go over and, hypothermia kicks in pretty quickly.
Okay.
You have to have plans of what you're going to do before that happens. That's probably the most important thing with kayaking. I guess it's true with all boating, right? But in kayaking, you're one-on-one with nature. So anyway, yeah, that's my suggestion. And there's a lot of ways of figuring that out. But
my first thing to do was to replace the battery in my VHF, my handheld VHF, which needs yep. One thing I don't know if we're going to get to tonight, but I'd be interested in talking about jack lines. Maybe that's not for tonight.
Sure.
Actually, we have some other folks that are going to be doing that.
Yeah.
They're in the Bahamas right now. What's their name? I'm sorry. Robin.
Malik and Robin.
Yep.
Yeah, Robin has volunteered to do that when they get close enough to a Wi-Fi for sure. They're sort of floating around right now, so they can't do that. But she's really got to be in her bonnet on that.
Okay.
We also have Robin on tap when we start getting back together in person to do a session on singing sea shanties. And I just wanted to mention that Dave Coffin is doing something on Facebook tomorrow. He's a local sea shanty guy. And that would be fun to tune into.
3 o'clock, I saw. Can we go back to life vests for a minute?
Yep.
So maybe this is kind of related to jack lines and tethers and all that, but So I have two PFD inflatables, and I have a budding husband sailor. So when I need to use a tether, I use my the ocean one with the D-rings on it. But separately, I have just the inflatable PFD and then a harness. Does anybody have experience kind of using the dual? So I figure I'll give that, one of us will use the harness and the regular PFD, and one of us use the ocean one with the D-rings. But does anybody have experience using the harness with just a regular low end kind of inflatable?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one more thing, but it works.
Yeah, so you just put it underneath the PFD and,
Right.
okay.
It's probably not ideal, though.
Yeah,
Patty, generally with the PFD with the rings on, they don't have crotch straps.
Right.
no, they don't.
It's you can buy something to attach a crotch strap to the PFD.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah, I
have
don't know
it.
if we talked
Yeah.
about crotch straps, because when I got these new ones, I'm doing a race this summer around Martha's Vineyard, and they won't let us race unless we have crotch straps.
Right.
So that's another thing.
Yeah.
And they make them for men and for women?
I think they're universal.
Okay,
This is what they're selling.
okay.
the
And so
straps.
it just has its own D-ring after you put it on. There's another D-ring that you attach, a third D-ring you attach to the tether.
Yeah,
Is that
you
how it
have a
works?
tether, and you get a D-ring, two D-rings here, like this. And you have a tether that's got, what do you call them? Those clips on
Yep.
either. And you just put one there, and then you put one on your jack line, or your lifeline, whatever your jack line.
Carabiner.
Well, so that's separate
Carabiner.
from the PFD. So you have the D-rings on the PFD, but you also have the D-rings on the crotch strap. And all of that gets
No.
attached to the tether?
No D-rings on this. This just goes around you. It's
Huh.
just attaches to the life jacket.
I
Mostly,
see.
what it
Okay.
does, its job is to keep the life jacket from bouncing up,
Yeah,
ripping up
sure.
over your head.
Yeah. Okay,
That's also a big problem with life jackets on little kids.
Yeah.
They're not perfectly sized. They jump in the water and it slides right over their head. And so a lot of these children's life jackets have a crotch strap too.
okay.
Well,
So we've gone for an hour. Any other topics people want to bring up?
Jean had a message that she wrote. Thank you for this information. Is there a way to download the safety checklist?
And actually, there is a URL for that was in some of the invitations beforehand. If you go back, and if you can't find it, I'll dig it up on the Coast Guard site.
I think Daryl put it into the invitation for tonight.
yeah.
Well, Tom, this has been really informative. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Tom.
And if you do the virtual vessel safety check and you're interested in getting a decal, once we can be in person, I'll come to your boat and do the checklist. I've done it for Frank and Ken in the past.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
That
everybody.
was
Do you
good.
do that in the winter when it's on the hard? Or
Barry,
does it
you're
have to be
mean.
in summertime?
Yeah, I did Ken's on the hard,
Yeah.
in the rain. It felt like winter,
Hmm.
but it's
In case anybody's
it's still not safe to mingle with people quite yet.
This is that water mist. What's really good about this, they say, is for electrical fires. And it's in last month's practical sailor. It's a pretty good summary of the whole fire extinguisher thing.
They're recommending water for electrical fires?
Amex water mist extinguisher is used for electrical fires. In general, make cleanup easier.
Wow.
Hope they're not using seawater.
No, not.
They use deionized water,
Okay.
propelled by nitrogen.
Oh.
The industry is changing. Like everything else.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Night.
Thanks much.
Guys, thanks, Ken.
100
Bye-bye.
days before we're in the water. Not even that many.
All right, good night, everyone.
Night.